All right, glad to be back. Obviously really excited about this week, our first home game, an opportunity to play at North Greenville University this Friday. It's been a great start to our season. I thought our kids played really, really well, especially in the first half of the football game last week. Besides a couple of mistakes, it was a pretty flawless first half. I loved our energy, loved our enthusiasm, how we played. It was a week that we really challenged them to pay attention to details with the style of offense that they had on the other side of the ball, and I thought we responded. And it was really fun for me as a coach because we didn't have a JV game to carry some of those younger players with us to the varsity game. So we got a lot of people experience on a Friday night in the second half, and those kids did a really good job. And going into this Friday, a great matchup for us. Two top 10 teams in the 3A classification. St. Joe's, they're undefeated so far. Big win last week against Chapman. So it's going to require our absolute best. We've really tried to challenge ourselves and our kids and our coaching staff this week that, this is the game that matters for us the most right now. So hopefully we're prepared. It's been a challenging week with some of the things that they do to make sure that our kids are ready to go on Friday night. But here on a Thursday, with one day left, we're just really excited and can't wait to watch them be under the lights at North Greenville tomorrow night.
Since you beat St. Joe's last year, do you think you'll beat them again?
I think that's the danger as a coach is that, last year was last year, this year is this year. We have a different team, they have a different team, and they're playing some really good football. So I think it's easy for our kids sometimes at their age to take a result from the previous game, not just last year and the same opponent, but to kind of become relaxed in what they want to do in their approach. So I think it's our job as a coaching staff, and it starts with me, to help them understand that every week it's going to take our best effort if we want to come out with a victory on a Friday night. So I hope that it's the same result, but Coach Nash at St. Joe's has done a phenomenal job with his team. You turn on the tape, their kids play really, really hard. I always love watching football teams that play with effort, and they definitely do. So if we want that same result from last year, it's going to take a really good game by us, and we're looking forward to that challenge.
AJ, how have you taken preparation for this week leading up to this game?
I think really just focus on the defense to stay disciplined. St. Joe's does a lot of things that, causes defenses to mess up. If we don't fill our gaps, we're a gap control defense, so I think we really just got to fill our gaps and stay disciplined.
Coach Ramsey, how do you handle high-pressure situations?
How do I handle what?
High-pressure situations.
It's funny you say that. On my play call sheet on a Friday, and this is kind of how we end our team meeting every week, it says, fear does not exist in those who have prepared. So I think it comes down to your preparation every week, the confidence that you've got to have in myself, our kids, our coaching staff, to know that, in the days leading up to a game on a Friday, and then all the other little things behind the scenes for our program, hopefully prepares you for those high-pressure situations. So I think we do a good job of that in trying to address those things. But the high-pressure situations are what you crave as a coach. If you're not in high-pressure situations, you probably want to be. So hopefully we're in some more this year. We have a chance to prove ourselves.
I see you wearing number 9. Is there like a certain reason that you're wearing 9, or just for some reason you picked 9?
No real reason. It's just like my brothers was wearing 7 and 8, so I figured I'd just go 9 as the oldest. Yeah.
AJ, how long have you been doing football?
I've been playing football since I was 5, 6, so very long time.
How do you think the season's going to go?
I think the season will go well as long as we just stay on track, stay progressing. Just keep on being hungry for what we want. I think it'll go pretty good.
Yeah, I'm excited for this season. I think we've got a great group of kids. Everything that we want to achieve is in front of us. I think they're a championship caliber team. That means that we've got to work really hard over the next few months if we want to try to have that opportunity this year.
What are your biggest challenges you face as a football head coach, and how do you overcome them?
Biggest challenges that I face, I think, is navigating a group of kids. When you look at our program 7 through 12, all under one roof, you're looking at roughly 150 kids, and each kid has their own story. You know, they have something that they're going through and that they're dealing with. And I think it's easy for me as a coach to want to look at one kid and apply the same type of rules or what it may be, but everybody goes through things in their life. So the challenge is to try to help them navigate their lives and the things that they're going through that are really meaningful compared to a high school football game. We're competitive. I want to win on a Friday night, but hopefully we're helping them navigate, you know, a very difficult part in their life and helping them grow into be, you know, a great leader and a great husband, father. Those are cliche terms in the coaching world, but I think that we do a really good job of trying to help provide them with the tools to make sure that that comes true.
What makes a great football player in your opinion?
There's probably a lot of things that I could go into that as a coach that I want to see. This is a representation. I like to see passion. I like to see kids that are passionate about what they're doing, that when they show up at school on any given day that they want to be here. And I think that correlates into the practice field and what they want to do. So I like to see kids that play really, really hard. And I think a comparison probably for the real world is work ethic. You know, you don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the fastest or whatever, but if you work hard, typically things go your way. So as a coach, the kids that play hard for us are typically the ones that you're going to see on the field on Friday night.
How are injuries handled?
I think a lot of us players just try to push through the minor injuries, you know, like a cold, you know, just pop some Tylenol, you know, go out there and try your best. I think the coaches keep up with us pretty good with the, you know, keeping us out for injuries, you know, limiting our reps if we can't go too long. But other than that, I think other than like a torn ACL or something crazy, we should be good to go in and play.
Yeah, Miss Collins, she does a great job in our athletic training department, and obviously the kids that we have volunteered. I think it's that time of year you can hear me. I'm struggling through with a cold myself. So we know as a coaching staff that when you play the game of football and how physical the sport is, you know, one thing that we have to evaluate every single week is who's available. You know, who can we play now? And with this being our non-region schedule, you play things on the safer side because you want kids to be healthy come region time when the games really matter. So we've had a few kids in the first few weeks that if it was the state championship game, they probably would have played. But knowing that we have a long season ahead of us and trying to be smart in what we need to do, we've been very cautious with those things. And then, you know, trying to put together a plan that fits them through the rehab process, you know, seeing who we need to see to make sure that we can get them ready to go on Friday. If you're blessed enough being playing at the end of the year in the playoffs and making a deep run, the majority of your team has some kind of little injury that's bothering them. And that's just something that you've got to work through.
How do you communicate with players about their performance after the game?
Yeah, it's a big deal for us. Every Monday, we have our position meetings. They get their grades through the weekends. So just like you would get graded on a test, your position coach grades you over the weekend, and you get a number, 62%, 82%, 92%. You get a reflection of your performance with notes, and then those coaches go over that performance with you. The game, especially at the high school level, is such a fast-paced week that we spend a Monday, you know, trying to fix those mistakes that we know maybe can help us on a Friday. But as soon as we get past that, it's time to turn our attention to the next opponent. So we try to do a good job of getting their notes to them over the weekend, talking with them. You know, it's 2025. You know, back when I played, if you wanted to meet with your coach, you know, there's no such thing as Zoom meetings and sending clips on Huddle and talking about it through text messaging. So we can speed those things up, which I really think helps us get prepared for the next week.
What is your role in this team?
I think my role in this team is to, you know, be a leader. You know, stepping up into the leader role from last year. I wouldn't say it's been the easiest thing, but I think I'm coming up to it pretty good. And then showing the ninth graders and the younger kids, like, kind of how to be here at MVP, especially coming from other schools. I think it's a hard transition to come over to MVP, especially if it's your first high school year. But I think if I show them the way to go through MVP, it'll be a little bit better for them.
Coach, what do you
Our biggest strength right now, I think, is that we're growing as a team. I really have enjoyed seeing them come together as a football team. You know, you go back to this time last year, I think what they really craved and probably what they missed was that they still didn't know these guys. You didn't know your teammates that you were playing with. You were learning how they responded in certain situations. So I think our strength is that we've got a group of kids that really love each other, and that they play for each other on a Friday night, and that some of that selfishness that you may see in some teams, I don't think we see a lot of that. I see people celebrating in the end zone with their teammates. I see how they treat each other at practice and the relationships that are growing. So I think it's really benefited our team, and I think that's what makes us so excited for this year is the fact that we've got a group that really cares about each other and that has empathy towards other people and the success of their teammates. So that's been fun for me to see for sure.
What's your biggest challenge when coaching on the sideline?
Just keeping up with all the roles that you have as a head coach. This year's a little bit different for me too. I'm calling the plays, so you know when the offense is out on the field, you know you're zoned into that responsibility, and then you know as a head coach that means that you're limited in your interactions with the defense. You know they're over under the tent looking at the previous series on our iPads, on our TVs, trying to make their corrections. And then my job is ultimately to keep everybody straight on special teams too. So it's kind of that juggling act. It can get fast on you at times, but then that's where you rely on your staff. I can't be more proud of the people that we put together. You know, it starts with our leadership on the defensive side with Coach Henderson and our defensive coordinator, Coach Hunter, who is basically an extension of me, my right-hand man, and then you have Coach Big who's handling our defensive line. So trusting those guys when I'm kind of head on and focused on the offensive side of the ball, especially when we've got the ball, to trust those guys to make those adjustments. And I think our players believe that too. They know that I don't have to be there for something to go right. They trust those people that are on that side of the ball. So that's been fun for me, and I'm just thankful to have those guys on my staff.
AJ, what position do you play and do you enjoy it?
I play, you know, a new position this year, DN, play a little bit of stud. I think I really enjoy it, especially going into the new position this year. I think it's cool to see, you know, kind of what I could do at the DN position since playing stud for most of my life.
Probably a lot of things. They probably don't want to hear that answer sometimes, but we talk about it daily. It's hard for me as a head coach sometimes because I feel like I spend most of my days pointing out where I want us to get to, you know, the things that we want to do a better job of. But the talent is there. I think that's something that we're blessed with, the DNA and the caliber of athletes that we have. But that doesn't win championship football games. So the improvement that we need, there are all the things that you guys don't get to see under the lights on a Friday. You know, who you are as a person, what type of student you are, what type of teammate you are, and do you care about the little things? Because those little things end up translating into helping you win really big-time ball games on a Friday night. So there's a lot of things that we can continue to get better at. You know, we're going to be sitting in here, and hopefully it's a positive result next week. There's going to be a lot of things that we messed up. That's just a given. We know that. The game of football is a game of imperfections, you know, and you're trying to eliminate as many of those mistakes as you possibly can. I talked to the team this Monday when we had our team meeting on Labor Day. There were plenty of times where I go back and think about play calls, or I think about how I did things on a Friday night, and it wasn't very good. So I've messed up plenty of things too. So the game of football will never get to that perfection. I think the fun part is chasing it every day. But they're doing a really good job. They're embracing everything that we're trying to get them to do and who we think they can be, which is a championship football team on and off the field.
I've got a question for you. So coming up against St. Joe's, what is your biggest challenge with their team specifically?
Well, it's always a week that you kind of circle on the calendar. Coach Eric Nash does just such a phenomenal job in his schemes. He has some Walford influence, so the type of offense that they run really requires your team to be disciplined and detailed. You know, AJ hit on it earlier. You know, we can have a play where 10 out of our 11 defensive players play it perfectly. And if one of our players is in the wrong spot, it's a touchdown for them. It's an old school style offense, so we don't get to see it. You know, a lot of the preparation that we typically go into against other teams, everybody has their own favorite schemes. They have their plays that they want to run, but it's the same style of spread offense now. You know, they go back in time a little bit. You know, they want to pump the box. They want to run the football, and you've got to be disciplined and detailed to stop them. A lot of eye candy going back and forth. And they're just a team that is going to put pressure on you from the get-go. They take risk on special teams. You know, we played them last year. There's fake punts, double passes, onside kicks. It just requires you to be on your toes the entire game. So the challenge for us is that this is a week which I love, that our kids have to realize that if we want the result that we want, which is a win and a victory, we can't just do it because we think that we're talented athletically. It's going to take us buying in mentally and being there from the mental side of things this week.
AJ, what are you focused on going into this game?
This game, I'm just focused on, like Coach Ramsey said, staying disciplined, make sure everybody knows their assignment for that play, and then on a smaller scale, not jumping off sides. You know, D-line, we've had a problem a little bit recently with jumping off sides, but I think we're gonna get it fixed this week.
How do you handle players that are struggling on expectations?
Yeah, I think we have so many different areas that we can look at there. Our expectation here for a student is to be an A student. You know, that's what I want from you. Any of our players going into a game week, if they have below a 70 in any of their classes, they don't play. The reason that we choose the number 70, you know, 60 is passing, but 70 for your core GPA and the NCAA and their eligibility, you know, you should be able to make above that 2.3 core GPA. So first of all, they've got to make their grades to be able to play, and then we have mandatory study halls on Friday. Any class that they have below an 85, they have a 2-hour study hall on Friday. So you can be making a 99, a 99, and a 99, and your fourth class is an 84, then you have study hall. I think it's important for these kids to realize that the brain is a powerful thing, and that they have the ability here with so many great teachers, the resources that we have, our schedule that allows that flexibility on Friday, Mr. Talley's leadership, and really being in that, you know, performance-based learning where you can have opportunities to make up your work and to earn things back and to prove your mastery, that if you work hard, you should be a great student here. And that's kind of the bare minimum. So that's how we handle our grades. And then the behavior part is right along the same lines. You know, we have certain non-negotiables that our players know in the program. That means if you cross those boundaries, you don't play on Friday or you're dismissed. Those are extreme cases. And then for me, you know, not meeting my expectations, which I hope in return becomes their expectations. You know, at some point, what these kids don't realize is that I've seen the best version of them at some point. It could be rare in some cases. Sometimes our kids and certain kids, I see it 99% of the time, and then on the rare case, I don't see it. But when I see who you are and what your elite level of performance is and who you are as a person, who you are in your grades on the field, well, I have no choice but to hold you to those standards anymore. So when you don't meet those, you know, my job is to remind you of what that looks like and why that's important for you.
GC head coach Ramsey, how are you successful on the field?
I mean, go ahead.
I think off the field, like Coach Ramsey just said, getting held to a higher standard. I think once his standard becomes my standards, when, you know, I become a better person and a better student all around. And then I think becoming a better person ultimately helps you on the field. So if you're doing things right off the field, then it's going to translate over and get on the field, and I'm going to be doing things right on the field.
Yeah, success on the field, that's probably from the outside looking in, that's probably what people judge me on the most. You know, they think that I'm either a good football coach or a bad football coach based on what that number on that scoreboard says on Friday night. So, you know, the performance there is hopefully that I put these guys in a position every week to perform at a really high level, to trust the coaching staff that I have, to put together game plans. I'm a competitor. I love calling plays. I love, you know, the competitive nature on the field. And then off the field is very important too. It's always a very stressful time, so in order to be the best version of myself off the field, I've got to keep things in perspective too. I think it's really easy to get caught up in the result of what may happen on Friday and forget some of the real responsibilities that you got in the world of maintaining family balance, work balance, what that may look like. So just trying to keep that balance in my life. You know, faithful and spiritual things help as well this time of year. So I've got to be the guy that, that, you know, you practice what you preach to your players, which means hydrate, you know, eat right, you know, be healthy. Sometimes when you're getting, you know, home at 12 o'clock from here, midnight, you know, there's not too many healthy options. I got to do a better job of keeping myself right too.
I think we have a couple that have asked a question.
Where do you guys see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I'm hoping to be in college, about to graduate. Finding a job that I know will be sustainable for my family, my future wife, and my future kids. And then, yeah.
Yeah, I think if I had a perfect button, I'd say here, you know, and that we in the next 5 years have created this program to be one of the elite programs in this state, that we've seen the growth of our school continue to be what we want it to be. We're excited about the growth of our facilities and who we are as a football program, but I think it's been important for me when I took this job to try to make it the place to be. And that, you know, hopefully we've won some championships. And I don't just say that to say that that's our goal and that's what I want to do is to win state championships. I think that if we achieve that, that means that we're probably doing the right things behind the scenes too. So I hope that, you know, in 5 years this is a place that, you know, parents and families are really proud of and that they want to be a part of.
I forgot to ask this. Can you talk a little bit about our new home stadium this year?
Yeah, kids are excited. We're excited. We'll be at North Greenville this year, which is a little bit closer than where we were at in Newberry. So I think it'll allow a lot of our families and our supporters and our kids to be there. And then, you know, for a team that doesn't have their own stadium on campus, which is not very fun at times, the fact that you don't have a stadium and then you're going to probably play in the nicest 3A stadium in the state is a great reward. So it's just a beautiful campus. Their head coach there, their administration has been great to us and welcoming. So we hope to take it over and make it ours. We're going to hopefully, you know, we've got 3 scheduled home games, but if we do what we're supposed to, hopefully we're playing some home playoff games there and that we can make it in an atmosphere that gives us an advantage.
How do you handle difficult players and parents?
We restarting the interview. No, it's part of the job. I think being relational. The kids are easy. I say that, you know, when you start talking to your kids that you would label as difficult, my job is to help them understand why we're frustrated with them. You know, it's not an anger. It's not that we're mad at you. We're frustrated that you aren't up to that standard of what we want you to set. It could be grades, it could be behavior, it could be being late. And to try to help them understand that we're trying to use this as an opportunity for you to see how your life's going to be one day. So I'll give you a simple illustration, right? I get an email from a teacher, says a kid is sleeping in class. Everybody thinks that's pretty minor. You know, coach talked to him, what's his punishment going to be? But then to sit him down and to say, I don't want you to think that I'm mad at you for sleeping or that there's something that, you know, coach just doesn't like you sleeping in class. Is to understand that in the real world, there's going to be days when you're an employee that you're really, really tired. You know, you're a dad and your kid's been up all night and they've been sick and you're supposed to give a presentation or you're supposed to do these things. And if you come in and you sleep on the job, the consequence is not your boss probably pulling you in like Coach Ramsey's doing. It's that you don't work there anymore. And to understand those. And oh, he's 5 minutes late. Well, in some cases, if you're 5 minutes late to your job, you may not have that job anymore, and that could impact your family. So those conversations are a little bit easier to navigate. And then dealing with parents, you know, as a head coach, they're not plugged in and they don't get privy to everything that we do. And I try to keep a great mindset of them understanding that most of the time if they're frustrated with something that's going on in our program, it's simply them caring about their kid and loving, you know, their kids. So I don't get mad at that at all, and try to be relational with them and help them understand why we're doing what we're doing. And then it becomes a very easy conversation after that because I think they see that we truly care. And that sometimes that means discipline, sometimes that means consequences, sometimes that means accountability. And I think that they understand in the long run that's going to help their son pay off in the long run.
Have you asked the question?
What's your favorite and least favorite thing about coaching?
Favorite thing about coaching, I think, is just being around kids and getting to make an impact in their life. It gives me an avenue to be around them. You know, for AJ, you know, these times are limited. You know, I've told our seniors as we go through, this is their last ever first home game, right? And then we're going to go down the road and it's going to be their last ever region game. And then we get to the playoffs and it could be their last game for some of them ever. And then you start looking at, and you know, it makes you not panic a little bit, but you know, that's the unfortunate part about coaching. So just trying to spend as much time with these kids as possible to make memories that will last for all of us for a long, long time. So I just enjoy being around them. I think the difficult part of coaching, I would say time. You know, we're working, you know, in the season time, 80 hours a week from the time, you know, you lay down and go to bed and the weekend work that you have. It's just a very difficult and demanding schedule, and part of that's from the competition standpoint that, you know, you're expected to win, and then some of that is trying to be involved in their lives. So I would say the most difficult is probably time.
I think, is that everybody? Everybody else? You got one? Okay.
What's a Bible verse or quote y'all live day by day for?
You want to go?
I think mine is pretty cliche, but it's Philippians 4:13. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It's pretty copy and paste. You know, a lot of people go through rough times, but as long as you got Jesus and God to fall back on, then, you know, you'll make it out of there, you know, you'll make it. Yeah.
Yeah, probably ironic that AJ uses that verse. These kids are familiar. My life verse or chapter is Philippians 4. So it covers that whole chapter. It's just something that I relate to in my life and the things that I went through as I grown up. So I think a lot of people on our team, our kids, our coaches, are faith-based people. So I think we use those scriptures and Bible verses as a reminder of what we're ultimately called to be here and to do.
Is there anything you want to say that we didn't ask you?
No, just thank you again for being here. If you can come to the game on Friday, be there. Make it an atmosphere that gives us a home field advantage for this Friday. Be loud, dress up, and be part of our school community. You know, there's nothing better than Friday nights. You know, get you some concessions, spend time with your friends, and come support these guys that work really, really hard. We're looking forward to Friday night.